Hello, YouTube. You are here, and I am here. And you are here probably because you saw the title of this video. And as much as I would hate to say that that was clickbait, it is not clickbait, but I know that you are here because of the title. So I'm gonna give you what you want up front, so you don't have to watch the whole video. I mean, you can watch the whole video. I'd love it if you stuck around. But I know some of you are like, "What is she talking about? Is this real?" So I'm gonna do it. We're gonna give you the whole like what happened right here, right now. So before we begin, my name is Detroit Allycat. I cover anything weird, bizarre, true crime, paranormal, anything, really anything that's just not normal. And if you subscribed, I would love it. If you didn't, that's fine. You could leave a like, you could leave a comment. I get lots of weird comments. I'm here for them all, the good, the bad, whatever you want. But let's talk about what we all want to talk about. Let's talk about the headline. So I titled this The Menstruating Murderer. Or I don't know, maybe I did, like, the menstruation murder. I think that sounds more or less what I did. Now, you're gonna say, "I've never heard of this guy." You actually have heard of this guy. I am going to talk today about the co-ed killer, and for those of you that study serial killers, the co-ed killer is actually a pretty well-known one. I just did not know he was here in Michigan. He's also known as the Michigan Murderer, also known as the Ypsilanti Ripper. The Ypsilanti Ripper was what brought me to this case because I was like, I have never heard of the Ypsilanti Ripper. So let's talk about why the title of my YouTube video and get straight to the point so that if you want to dip out, you can. The serial killer that I am going to be talking about today, his name is John Norman Collins. I am looking down because I took notes because this is quite a case. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna give you the 2-second speech about what made me cover this case. John Norman Collins is an unusually young serial killer. I mean, I've heard of children killing before, and there are some underage serial killers, but this guy was 20 years old. That in itself is a bit unusual to be a serial killer. He was pretty normal. He was like a co-captain of a football team. And then the reason why I called him the menstruation murderer, that's such an icky term, is it not? Is because I personally, and this is just a little bit of my own thoughts filled in with facts. He ended up killing, they suspect 7 to 8 victims. And in the video, I'll go into why it's suspected. But every single one of his victims were on their period, which is crazy, right? Crazy. Like, how did he know that they were on their period? How? Like, could you smell it? What like that's a strange thing to have all of your victims on their period. I'm gonna give you my theory, and then we're gonna cover the case, okay? My theory is Mr. Collins was actually a serial I'm not allowed to say that word on YouTube, so we're gonna call him a serial graper? I don't know. Yeah, let's just do graper. That sounds ridiculous as well. My theory is that Mr. Collins was a serial graper. He had some accusations in his past of being into rough sex. I hope I can say that. And some of his ex-girlfriends said that like when they found if he found out that they were on their period, he would get very angry and violent and be like, "This is so disgusting." So my theory is he went out there to go rape some women, and when he found out that they were on their time of the month, he got infuriated and ended up killing them. That's what I think. I don't know if he would have killed them if they weren't on their period. It sounds like he's got a lot of issues. But because I put such a controversial title in my YouTube video, I just wanted to give you the facts, the theories, the all of it, because I know some of you probably aren't gonna be here for the entire video, and that's fine. My true crimers that wanna know what happened, they are gonna be here, but I wanted to give that to you so that you could actually know why I called it what I called it. It's not really clickbait if it's true, and this man did murder 7 women, maybe 8, that were all on their periods. So, yes, indeed, I have renamed the co-ed killer the, menstruating murderer. He wasn't menstruating though. Maybe it would be like the menstruation murderer. That's just such an icky word. I'm so sorry. I don't even like that word. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into this case and I'm gonna tell you all the facts. I'm gonna tell you is it's a rough case. If sexual violence bothers you, and mutilation and underage touching bothers you, this case is gonna be really rough. This is not a charismatic serial killer. I know that some of you don't believe that there are charismatic serial killers out there, but I do. I do. You don't have to like what they did, but you do have to admit some of them are well spoken and they are interesting to watch. You don't That's not saying that you're, like, glorifying them, but, like, if you've ever sat down and watched a Ted Bundy interview, you know that some of these serial killers are interesting, and that's why they're so famous. The one that I'm gonna talk about right now, you're not gonna like him. He's not he's just a creep. He's a really yucky, icky, gross creep, but it's an important story to tell you because I personally did not know how bad of a serial killer was in Michigan, and the fact that he was over at Eastern is crazy, and if you're a young woman or you love a young woman, you should probably listen to this case because if the Idaho 4, which is a recent case that just happened, can prove anything, it proves that, like, everything repeats itself. Everything. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Let's have a moment. Look, it's weird. I go like this to say, let's get spooky, but it's actually over here. One day I'll have it under control and you won't laugh at me, but let's get spooky or let's get really grossed out. But if you have to dip because this is going to be too much, I totally understand. But don't be scared to leave me a comment and say thanks for telling me that there was a really gross serial killer out there. Okay, on to the next segment. Let's go to the case. Okay, I'm back. How are you guys doing? Let's get through this. Let's do the thing. Are you ready to do the thing? I do have to keep looking down on here, okay? Just bear with me. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. Collins. He was actually born John Norman Chapman, but became John Norman Collins. I didn't do too much research on his early life and his home life and all that because I didn't want to. I don't like him, but I will tell you what I know. I know that he was a decent looking guy in high school and he had girlfriends. I also know that he was born on June 17th, 1947. He was born in Windsor, Ontario, where he should have stayed, but he came to Detroit, Michigan, and that is where he lived. He was taking class turns? What the heck is a class turn? He was He was taking classes at Eastern. I kinda put those together. Class and Eastern, Clastern. Yes, I make my own language sometimes. He was taking classes at Eastern, and it's Eastern Michigan University. They always call it EMU, and that's like, I don't know, I just see emu and it kinda gets me messed up. I don't know if I'm special, but yeah, emu, I guess. Eastern Michigan University, which I believe is a college right around Ann Arbor, right? No, this is kind of funny. None of this is actually funny. This is ironic. He was majoring in elementary education. Just think, if that man would have graduated, got away with what he did, he would be teaching our kids. Great, you know? That is what I have. I know he had a couple ex-girlfriends, and his ex-girlfriends had a lot to do with, like, identifying him and talking about past behaviors. He was really into rough sex. He did not like when women menstruated. You guys already know that, I made that perfectly clear. He's just I don't know, something wasn't wrong with this guy. So I saw pictures of him when he was young, and I will put them up here, or at least I will try. It's harder and harder to put stuff like that on YouTube. And then I saw pictures of him incarcerated. It's like a spoiler alert, he was incarcerated. He's here in Michigan. I think it's Marquette. He's in Marquette, but he looks like crap. I mean, he was 22 when he was convicted, and I think he's 57 years old. So he has spent more than half of his life in prison. So if you're one of them people like who are thinking about like killing people and doing awful things, just put that in your head. Like prison is not fun. It is not fun. Like get some therapy. Stop this. But anyway, we're going to talk about this guy. It wasn't a recent thing. It was, his reign of terror was between 1967 to 1969. So he really didn't have a lot of time to do what he did. I believe that he's just so weird. I think he was just not I don't know. Let me tell you about the facts because they're weird. They're really weird. They're not normal. And I'm saying that because serial killers aren't normal, but this guy is weird. There's weird things that he did that just they're weird. Okay. So let's talk about his MO, his modus operandi. I think I'm saying that wrong. Operandi. His MO, right? His victims were all between the ages of 13, which pisses me off. Pisses me off. If you're going to attack a 13-year-old, hope that the men in prison showed you a good time. Just saying. Anyway, his victims were between 13 to 21. All of his victims' lives completely stolen. Never had kids, never had families. Their family lost probably their pride and joy. Very tragic. Yeah, this guy did a pretty good dent on society. He's just a icky man. He abducted, raped, bludgeoned, did awful things to the body, awful. And he obviously had a lot of rage because one of his victims had 30 stab wounds. Almost every single victim had the same like calling card, which is basically like he stabbed them so many times and their deaths were so violent. Also, he strangled them and in a couple of the cases they had their clothes around their neck. This is an icky man. Sorry. He just makes me mad. All right, let's talk about his different victims because I'm guessing you're probably interested in them. His first victim, Mary Teresa Pleasure. She went to Eastern Michigan University. She was 19 years old, so just a kid, just a little kid, not like a little kid, but we're talking about a young girl. She went missing on July 9th, 1967. Blue gray Chevy approached her, and witnesses saw her shaking her head no and left. After a month, 2 15-year-old boys found her on August 7th in an abandoned farmhouse in Ann Arbor. Not only did he kill a 19-year-old girl, but he forever messed up 2 15-year-old boys' heads after finding a 1 month decomposed body. She couldn't be identified because she was so badly decomposed that they had to identify her with dental records. She was stabbed 30 times, her feet were severed off, her thumbs and fingers were missing. Her body, the detectives said, had been moved at least 3 times before they found her, and they're pretty sure she was placed where she was 24 hours before they found her. And here's our great guy, Mr. Collins. At the funeral home, a guy shows up in a blue-gray Chevy. That's the same Chevy that they saw talking to our victim, and asks to take a picture with the body, the girl, person. He claims he's friends with her. Nobody knew who he was, and that's a very strange request. They said no. And then he basically said to them, and I quote, "Can't you fix her up enough to take the picture?" Okay. Okay, that's great. So moving on to victim number two, Joan Elizabeth Shell. She was 20 years old. She was found in Ann Arbor. She was raped, stabbed 25 times. Now, here is where it gets weird. The bottom portion from the neck down on her was perfectly preserved, like she was in a refrigerator, but her head up was completely decomposed. And once again, they think the body had been moved multiple times. And when they did finally find the body, they think that it had been placed there 24 hours before they found it. She was hitchhiking to her boyfriend's house. Her friend said, "Please don't do this." She refused to listen. Somebody said that they saw three men pick her up, and one was wearing a Eastern shirt, so she thought all would be great. It was a red and black vehicle. She never made it to her boyfriend's house. Her best friend ended up calling and saying that she was missing, and then they found her a couple weeks later. Number three, Jane Louise Mixer. She was a U of M student. She got a lift from someone and never made it back. Number 4, Mary Lou Skeleton. Now, here's something that's interesting. There are a lot of people in Michigan with the last name Skeleton, and for some reason, they end up in true crime cases. It's just something I thought you would want to know. There's a case called the Skeleton Boys. It's really sad. It's really crazy. But anyway, number 4, Mary Lou Skeleton. Number 5, Dawn Louise Payson. She was 13 years old. Number 6, Alice Elizabeth Colomb. She was 21 and she went to U of M. Number 7 was Karen Sue Bencard. She was 18. She went to Eastern Michigan University. And there was a suspected 8th victim. But let's talk about the 7th victim because the 7th victim had a lot to do with actually catching Mr. Collins. So the 7th victim went to a wig shop. And when the 7th victim, which her name is a little bit hard for me to pronounce, it says Bindman. It's Karen Sue, the B last names. All right. Karen Sue went to a wig shop, right? And she went to this wig shop, and it's called Wigs by Jean. And the owner said that they saw a motorcycle that day, and it was a Triumph, like a bluish Triumph. And Karen Sue got a ride from the motorcycle man because she was going to go home. And the owner watched her do it. Ladies, please stop this. Stop getting rides from people you don't know, men that you don't know. Not all of them are like Prince Charming. In fact, a lot of them are really the opposite of that, and then you get this. Karen Sue got a ride from the guy on the Triumph, and, yeah, Mary Karen Sue was never seen again. Her body was found, And then what was really neat is that the owner of the wig shop actually identified Collins as the guy on the motorcycle, which is what started the whole like looking into him, trying to figure out if he was the guy that was doing this. So at this point, the cops are onto him because of the motorcycle situation. Let's talk about Mr. Collins' uncle. Now, this is crazy, 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 crazy stuff. John Norman's uncle was actually a state police sergeant. His name was David Leake. I hope I said the last name right, but I don't know. David Leake. So David Leake actually took off for vacation during the summer, I think it was of 1969. And yeah, so when they came back to the house, they noticed that there were fresh paint and it smelled like bleach and ammonia, and the basement had been freshly spray painted black. It was very odd. And so at first, his uncle was like, "Why is this? Why was this?" And he was actually like, trying to help the other cops out, figure out. But then he decided he was going to protect his nephew and started giving him a hard time. But unfortunately for Mr. Collins, they removed some of the paint in the basement and they found blood, and the blood matched some of our victims. So they arrested him. They arrested him, and they think that while this state police officer, this sergeant, was gone on vacation, that there's a possibility that the murders actually occurred at this house. They don't actually know where the murders occurred, but the blood actually matched the type of the victims. And we're talking about like 1967 to 1969. So, like, a lot of that, like, DNA evidence and all that stuff that we have now, not quite where it is now. So they went ahead and they started a trial for the first victim, who is Mary Therese Flesher. It was a very long, crazy trial, and there were lots of crazy things in the trial. But the one thing that you need to know is that he was convicted and he was sentenced to life. For some reason, they decided not to press charges on the other victims. I think it was because it was such a long, drawn out case, and the evidence that they have for the other victims was circumstantial, and he had already gotten a life sentence, and they said that he would never be let out on parole. And Michigan does not have the death sentence, so there's like no way of him getting more. Even though I do feel like the families probably wanted justice, but at the same time, he would never be out walking around on the streets, which is very good because this is a very icky, awful man. I do want to talk about the possible eighth victim because there was a possible eighth victim. Her name was Roxy Ann Phillips. And what's interesting about Roxy Ann Phillips is she was in Salinas, California. Now, she was found passed away in August of 1969. And what's strange is the month that she actually disappeared and was found, they found out that Mr. Collins, I keep calling him Mr. Collins, John Norman Collins, he actually went on vacation the same time that she went missing, disappeared, and was found dead. So the times line up with him going to California and her being killed. And they didn't really press charges, but apparently she had been stabbed like 20 some times and she'd been strangled and she had been raped and she had the thing around her neck just like all of his other victims. They were almost 100% sure that he was the one who did it. And they tried to extradite him, but there was a problem and that never happened. But I wanted to tell this story. Mr. Collins, Mr. John Norman Collins, the ickiest man alive. He is serving prison to this day and he will never get out. But I decided to rename the co-ed killer, aka the Michigan murderer, the menstruation murderer of Michigan. That's what I've decided. So that's probably what's gonna be on my title. If you think that I was a little edgy today or I seemed a little too chipper for talking about him, I actually was very mad. This entire case was ginormous, and there were so many tiny little things that I didn't talk about, but they made me mad. They made me really mad. I didn't wanna spend a lot of time on him because I felt like he didn't deserve it, but I did wanna get the point across that, like, you should never, ever hitchhike, which people still do, like, up in Alaska. It's crazy. Like, why would you hitchhike? You should never ask people you don't know for a ride, even if they're going to the same college as you. You should always just, like, stranger danger, and I know that sounds stupid, but, like, I can't even, like, get it in like, talk about it enough. Like, there are some really sick people out there. This world is an amazing world. It's a great world. There's amazing things that happen. There's very beautiful things to see. There's very beautiful things to do. But there is, like, this 1% of really sick, awful, horrible people, and they destroy lives, many lives. And I don't know why they are born or exist, and I am on a mission to figure out, like, how this happens. But this guy right here, John Norman Collins, he is a perfect example, if you wanna get my real opinion, of a complete waste. Like, this is somebody who was someone's child at one time, and this is what he turned out to be, just some sick, gross person. And I'm willing to bet he feels 0 guilt about what he did. The only thing he probably feels bad about is that he got caught. That's just the kinda icky person he is, and I wanted to talk about it because we don't really talk about a lot of serial killers in Michigan, and we don't really talk a lot about how you should not trust strangers. You should not trust strangers. There's just so many bad strangers, so I felt like, this was a good case to cover, and, if I sounded edgy or weird the entire time, it's because I really just want to punch this guy in his face. And I hope that people he's in prison with have done their jobs for me because, ew, ew, just awful. An awful, awful, gross person. I did fly over his victim that was 13 years old, and I did that on purpose because, he had so many victims, and it's just, I mean, just awful, you know? So, anyway, I really appreciate you spending time with me. I'm sorry that this has been in front of my face the entire time, but I feel like you have to have it so close to your mouth for it to work. But I'm going to cover some other stuff that's really spooky and fun, and I can't wait to do it, and I can't wait to have you. If you have stuck around to this very ending, I am so thankful. Please leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe, leave a like. I know I keep saying that, but it helps my algorithm. And after the last true crime video I did, I'd love to see some positive input. So, listen, it's Saturday, and I spent my Saturday with you, and it was great. And I'm so happy to do that, even though we talked about a really horrible human that really should just not be on the planet, but that's okay. So, without further ado, I better let you go so you can go watch a horror movie and burn some incense and sage to get that nasty, yucky, nasty serial killer grossness off of you. So anyway, everyone, thank you again for watching my video. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye.